Welcome back to The Explainer. We usually take complex ideas and map them out visually so you can actually use them in your day-to-day life. But today, we're doing something a little bit different and honestly fascinating. We're taking the actual survival tactics of a 17th century samurai and applying them directly to your modern anxiety, your daily stressors, and that instinct to just react when things go wrong. We're talking about Miyamoto Musashi. Now, he was a legendary swordsman who survived 60 consecutive duels to the death. 60. But here's the thing, his secret wasn't just his sword technique, it was his mind. And it turns out, his ancient system is exactly what we need today to navigate a stressful meeting, a really difficult conversation, or honestly, just the general chaos of modern life. Okay, let's dive into this. Musashi noted that the most dangerous person in any confrontation isn't the loudest, it's the calmest. He deeply understood this paradox of the calm warrior. Think back, just for a second, to the very last time someone made you truly, intensely angry. Remember that physical storm in your body. Your heart is pounding, your muscles are tightening up, your vision literally starts narrowing. Well, in that moment, your words and your actions were serving your anger. They weren't serving your actual goals. Musashi knew that if you wanted to win out there, you absolutely had to conquer that internal storm first. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the modern trap, and then walk right through Musashi's 4 steps: emotional distance, anticipatory awareness, strategic breathing, and purposeful action. Finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the true power of calm. These right here are the exact 4 steps of Musashi's systematic framework. This is the precise process that allowed him to win those 60 consecutive life or death duels without ever losing his cool. His opponents, they couldn't counter this method because they were entirely consumed by their own fear, their pride, or their rage. But Musashi followed this exact sequence every single time to maintain an unbreakable, frankly terrifying sense of calm. All right, let's jump right into step 1, emotional distance. When someone yells at you or challenges you in a high-stakes environment, you immediately fall into the modern conflict trap. Your body just floods with stress hormones. Musashi wrote about watching a confrontation as if from above, like you're just watching clouds pass by without actually becoming the storm yourself. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive difference between these 2 tiny phrases. Saying "I am angry" means you have entirely become the emotion. There's zero separation. But saying "I notice I'm feeling anger," that creates a tiny crucial space of detachment. And modern research completely backs Musashi up on this. Brain scans actually show that when people actively label their emotions, they activate the rational prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, which literally calms the emotional centers down. You're not suppressing the anger, you're just creating a small vital distance from it. To see this in action, we just have to look at Musashi's most famous duel against Sasaki Kojiro. Kojiro was this fierce, incredibly dangerous opponent. So what did Musashi do? He deliberately arrived late. Kojiro was furious. He was completely consumed by his impatience and his rage. He literally became his anger. But Musashi, he remained entirely separate from his emotions. He saw the whole confrontation clearly because he maintained that emotional distance, while Kojiro's anger just made him sloppy and predictable. But listen, emotional distance alone isn't quite enough to survive a crisis. Once you have that space, you have to prepare for what's coming next. Which brings us to step 2, anticipatory awareness. In his famous text, The Book of 5 Rings, Musashi called this concept foreknowledge. Now, this isn't magic. It's not mind reading. It is simply the ability to sense what's coming by understanding basic human patterns. Think of a grandmaster chess player, or maybe an experienced FBI hostage negotiator. They aren't just guessing what the other person is going to do. They recognize the patterns. Because when people feel threatened or angry, their options usually narrow down to just a few highly predictable responses. Biologically, foreknowledge is an absolute game changer. When a confrontation catches you completely by surprise, your body experiences sudden stress. That's an overwhelming dump of hormones that just triggers sheer panic. But when you anticipate a challenge, your brain prepares. It releases expected stress, which is a much smaller amount of hormones that actually sharpens your focus without clouding your judgment. Musashi did exactly this before facing Kojiro. He knew Kojiro used a famous extra-long sword. So, anticipating this, Musashi carved a wooden sword out of an oar on his boat ride to the duel, making it slightly longer than Kojiro's to give himself the exact reach he needed. No surprise, no panic, just pure preparation. And the best part is, you can train your brain to do this right now. Here is a highly actionable 30-second practice you can use before you enter literally any difficult modern conversation. Say you have a meeting coming up with a manager who is constantly critical. Just ask yourself these 3 questions. What is their likely emotional state? What do they really want? And what are the 3 most likely ways they'll react to my proposal? By predicting that they'll criticize your idea, you completely remove the element of emotional surprise. So when they do exactly what you predicted, you don't panic. You've already anticipated it, so you just calmly navigate right through it. Moving on to step 3, strategic breathing. Let's just take a collective breath here. I actually want to purposefully slow our pace down for a second. Musashi emphasized throughout his writings that breath control was absolutely essential for samurai clarity during combat. He observed that before a swordsman lost their life, they usually lost their breath first. It would become shallow, rapid, uneven. Mastering the breath, he taught, meant mastering the mind, and this brilliantly illustrates the hard biological link between your breath and your brain. Fast, shallow breathing automatically triggers your sympathetic nervous system, that is your panic, fight, or flight mode. But slow, deep breathing manually overrides your system to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode. It's a two-way street. If you are calm, you naturally breathe slowly. But if you force yourself to breathe slowly, your body physically has to become calm. Musashi actually developed a very specific pattern for this, and it comes down to just 2 numbers, 4 and 6. Before crucial moments in a duel, he would take a single, controlled breath. He'd inhale for 4 seconds through his nose, hold it briefly, and then exhale for 6 seconds through his mouth. And you can use this exact technique today. Sitting in a tense meeting, before delivering some bad news, or right in the middle of a heated argument. Just one cycle, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, forces your physiology back into a state of calm. Emotional distance gives you space. Anticipation prepares you, and breathing calms your physical body. Step 4, purposeful action. All right, let's bring our energy and focus back up as we look at this final step, because this is what gives vital direction to that physical calm you just created. So the crucial point is to define your true objective in one clear sentence. Reacting emotionally to an insult just means you are playing by your opponent's rules. You are playing their game. Think about how modern arguments tend to spiral completely out of control. They start about one issue and then quickly derail into past grievances and personal attacks simply because both people lose sight of their actual purpose. Musashi taught that you should have no intention of striking first, but you should remain perfectly centered on your ultimate goal. Before any confrontation, define your true objective in one sentence. Silently repeat it to yourself as an anchor for your attention. Let your emotions serve your purpose, instead of letting your purpose get hijacked by your emotions. Okay, now that we've walked through the practical 4 steps, let's zoom out and look at the deeper meaning behind this entire framework. Which brings us to the true power of calm. You see, these aren't just cool survival tactics. Let's move to and see how this builds into some profound ancient truths about human nature. Musashi's practice of emotional distance perfectly mirrors the Buddha's concept of non-attachment to your reactive thoughts, and his focus on purposeful action, that directly aligns with the Taoist idea of Wu Wei, which is effortless action that follows the natural way of things. It's really about transcending that narrow, chaotic, stressful view of the present moment. And honestly, this brings us to a really striking modern irony. We live in an era of constant provocation. Social media algorithms are quite literally designed to push us toward conflict, and we regularly treat passive-aggressive emails about the office coffee pot like they're life-or-death duels. We actually face more minor confrontations in a single day than a 17th century samurai might have faced in a month. And the great irony here is that while we need this emotional control more than ever, we practice it far, far less. We just react instantly. But the truly powerful person, they stop responding automatically. They look at that rising storm, they take that 4 to 6 breath we talked about, and they ask themselves one vital question. Does this confrontation actually matter? I want you to keep that question with you today, and just imagine how much time and energy you'll win back when you finally stop fighting battles you were never meant to be in. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the ideas that shape our world.